All right, our first idea is number 57. Rolk marries the witness. Let's add that to the card. Hold on. 57. Rolk marries the witness. All right, so what the heck could that mean? We'll give ourselves, I don't know, we'll give ourselves like less than 5 minutes for these kinds of things. Someone says, what do you say if you have it? Well, I mean, you could just mark it on your card. What we'll do, Sam, is you have to fill your whole card with the ideas. And if you fill your card first, then send me a DM. And if anybody is new here and doesn't know how or where to send me a DM or anything like that, if you're getting close to filling your card, then you can ask, and I'll show you where our Discord is. Right. So if someone put down this idea, what could it mean if Rolk marries the witness? I mean, the witness would have to bring Rolk back from the dead, which may not be difficult for it to do. It seems to have, phenomenal cosmic powers. The witness seems really independent. The witness seems really not one to settle down. Literally travels a lot for work, But then again, Rolk is kind of used to that. Rolk was working within the company. As long as they have, I guess Rolk or Witness is the boss. So if they want to have a, interdepartmental marriage or relationship, then who's going to stop them, right?
Very true. It'd be very much a long distance relationship, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it seems like.
You can imagine the witness having a Rolk in every planet, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know, open marriage a thing, but yeah, they would look quite stunning though. I mean, both are very kind of tall and thin, kind of. Well, we don't know the size of the witness really with its robes, but they cut a dashing figure, don't they? A tall, mostly dark colored character versus this very dashing, mostly red character. Legs for days, Rolk, that's a fair question. So Rolk is the boss in the Vow of the Disciple raid, which was the raid that came out with Witch Queen. You, Juliet, will absolutely love Rolk. If I'll show you a picture of him later. He is the Vow. There you go. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He could work in the Rocky Horror Picture Show and be right at home.
Yeah, Rolk is he's very tall. He wears mostly black. He's got or mostly red. He's got his arms behind his back most of the time. Very long legs, and he's very, very serious. And he's also very snarky. He's very makes fun of the Guardians a lot. Sounds like a catch. Yeah, I think they do well. I wouldn't call him red. I mean, by the name, sure, but by attitude, not at all. Nice.
I mean, it could be why the witness is after the Guardian, like a wedding present.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, it's true. He uses those long legs to literally kick Guardians to death. Mm-hmm. So, nice. All right. Idea number 1. If you've got it on your card, mark it down, and let's keep going. Sounds like a cat. He's got cat attitude. Big cat energy for sure. What did I type? Get lore bingo, I think is the command. Well, thematically following through, this isn't much of an idea prompt, but number 43 is next. The Appended. Rolk's famous catch line, actually. As soon as you cross a certain corridor within the Vow raid, within a pyramid. Oh, this person kicked my ball away. That's not very nice. And then they just run away. Okay, we can get this back, but we're gonna have to kick it off the edge over here. Yeah, so if you have the Appended on your card, mark it down. The Appended is a large machine that was basically use... Does that work? That should work. Okay. Yeah, it's basically used by Rolk to control certain populations of the hive. You had 40. Yeah.
It's hinted that that's what you see when you do the raid, the thing that's burning the big hive worm god.
Yeah, it is that thing. There's like a upside down, not quite a pyramid, but a structure that floats. And as you walk around the corner, Rolk shouts at you, "The Offended." I can't remember the rest because I've only done the raid twice. So, all right, keep moving forward. Get lore bingo. What do we got? Okay, so much for that being random. I got the appended again. Let's try again. There we go. Number 10. Eris Morn encounters her evil self from a dark future.
That would be interesting.
That which turns the world upside down. Ah, thank you, Sam. What are we at? Number 10. Eris meets evil self from dark future. Yeah. All right, so just chatting a little bit about this one. I mean, a lot of people have speculated on Eris Morn going evil forever, for as long as her character has existed. I like this version because this is her meeting herself from a dark future, from a different timeline and in the future. People who've been in the channel long enough or have, caught my video on YouTube know that I don't like the whole theory of Eris Morn going evil because her entire character is written as such a way to show you that, people go through tough things and they can, they can deal with it. They can work through their grief and they can work together with others. But of course, that's too complicated. That's too nuanced of a take. So all the Chad bros online make videos about how she's definitely going evil and such. Eris meets evil self from a dark future. I mean, to be honest, it wouldn't... it's not that difficult to imagine Eris going evil. She's had a lot of trauma. And if she did not have the friends that she made or some of the stubbornness that she inherited, then, yeah, maybe she could.
I like that story arc, though. Because Eris, as she is now, would probably take it upon herself to try and heal and fix her broken self.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She would see it as an opportunity to redeem herself from another place, even if the darkness had corrupted her in a way that Elsie said. So I quite like the idea that, going forward, we go through the Vex portal, we go to another world. Eris is confronted with her dark self, who's, they're an antagonist, and she starts to show that person the path to redemption. It shows them how to come to terms with their own ghosts, because you've got to assume they would still be getting haunted by the ghosts. Ooh, actually, come to think of it, what if Eris met her dark self? And the darkness had brought her old fire team back. Or the witness. Now, would that be, do you reckon that would be enough to tempt Eris?
Yeah. I mean, it all, the thing with Eris is that as much as I will defend her ability to stay within the realm of good, I have to admit that there's been many keystone moments through her life where she could have turned bad. And depending on which temptation you want to use, might have a different effect at a different time. Shadowkeep, maybe, if the witness had existed or was present and was able to bring them back, maybe before that, even before she kind of found her place as the arcanist amongst the vanguard. So, yeah, obviously this is something that gets brought up every now and again. Is what if Destiny went into kind of an Elseworld sort of thing? What if it went into Vex space or went into other areas that showed us different realities? My only problem with that is I feel like a lot of players have trouble following the story as it is. So going into like a weird alternative one might be a stretch too far. People might go, "Oh wait, that was not real Eris. That was dark future Eris." But it could be done, and it could be done if Destiny continues to improve its in-game storytelling, I think.
It could be done the way they did it for us and I only say this because me and Badge did the mission. Me and Badge finished Scarlet Keep the other day without alts. Uh, and I completely forgot there's a scene where we go into the pyramid and we talk to what looks like a version of ourselves, although it speaks like the witness does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is possible that Eris already met a dark self when she first touched the statue.
Maybe, yeah.
Chances are she had that same conversation and she came back from it. That's how she knew that. That's how she knew stasis could be used without corrupting completely, because it didn't corrupt her.
Yeah. Nice. All right, so if you got number 10, mark it down. Let's move forward and hope our random number generator is truly random. Look at this. Number 1. Trevor gains sentience and escapes the ruined tower. Alright, so a reminder of who Trevor is. TR3VR, otherwise known as Trevor, was basically, there was a mission called 0 Hour. I forget exactly when it came out, before Season of Opulence for sure, where Guardians had to traverse through the Destiny 1 tower, the underbelly of the tower, getting the Outbreak perfected. And at one point, there was a section that was very maze-like. And he's a sentient, security bot that kind of was malfunctioning or overfunctioning, and as Tower Mom says, wanted a hug. Basically chased you down and ran you over.
So 50% of the Guardians would collapse on the floor in mortal terror. Just gone. Mm-hmm. Trauma crash bound in. Of the remaining 50, 25% would try and outrun him, and the remaining 25% would be clever enough to run up the stairs. Because Trevor can't climb stairs. But there would be a lot of PTSD inflicted Guardians looking for help.
Yeah, and I mean, even if we imagine a Trevor, okay, mobility issues aside, let's assume that Trevor could figure out a way to get around everywhere. Where would Trevor go? What would Trevor want? Not really sure.
Probably, to be honest, he would probably want to just be left alone. He would want to go out in the wide world, because he ran around a little maze.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was his life. His life was a maze, and it was just. I imagine if Trevor got sentient at some point, he would become so bored. In fact, he would probably become so bored and so desperate for interaction that he would try and harass the first person he's seen and get him to talk to him. He'd be that person, like at the party where you're like, "Oh, are you inviting Trevor? Because if you are, I'm not coming. Because he never leaves me alone." Like, he would be that guy. I'm telling you, he would be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd feel sorry for him, but only to a point. I wouldn't want to talk to him, but I'd feel sorry for him.
Well, if Sparrow Racing League ever comes back, Trevor is going to be like the opposite of the like electronic rabbit that they use at dog races. Basically, at where they used to race dogs, they would have a little electronic rabbit that would race around the course, and the dogs would go nuts and chase the rabbit, and that's how they would run the race. Now I'm imagining, though, that Trevor is behind, 10 Guardians on their Sparrows, and he's setting the pace. They have to move faster than Trevor, navigate around the corners and such, or Trevor will meet up with them and ruin their Sparrow at the very minimum. Little Shoebear says, could he be really reprogrammed like the assassin droid in The Mandalorian? It's okay. He's not a killer there anymore. He's just waxing the floors. Yeah, he would. I I feel like there's always going to be a chaotic energy to Trevor. Like, I'm leaping off of what Six is saying. Like, even when good, he's just a lot. So I feel like if he was, like, waxing floors, he would do it super fast. He wouldn't bump into anybody, but he'd be kind of terrifying. And he would probably do it to floors that hadn't yet been, like, cleared. So you'd be like walking, and then all of a sudden there's just a straight patch of like turtle wax on the floor, just you know.
He would get it to such a high sheen that people would have injuries because they'd slip over.
Yeah, yeah. Evil Damboni is good. Yeah, a Roomba on speed. Yeah.
There was a show where there was a character that they weren't inherently evil, but like no matter how much they tried to do something good, something bad always happened as a result. And that would be Trevor. Like they would have a heart of gold, but it would always backfire on them. Just it would never work. Like Mr. Bean, but able to kill. But I'd find him a nice open pasture and let him loose. Like on the throne world.
Nice. All right. Is Vala getting a text? Trevor is stuck on a cliff and he's just going around in circles at the top of a step. Yeah. All right. If you got number 1 on your cards, mark it down. Here we go. Next one. Number 7. Tannix returns to fight the Guardian again. Number 7. Tannix. Oops. Tannix returns.
Tannix 7, and this time it's personal. Cue rocking music.
Yeah, I don't. That was one thing I did not like about the Deepstone Crypt raid. I really didn't like the fact that we were fighting Tannix. It's very strange to me. Like, they had barely established the fact that the Elixni had tapped into Bray exoscience and were able to use it to, to basically exoify or revivify life. They barely tapped into that. There's like 1 or 2 offhand voice lines. There's the Mask of Bakra's helmet. And then Atrax does it. Atrax should have been the boss. And I get it. Like, maybe Tannix has more, people know who Tannix is. But, like, why is he there? I don't know.
I didn't like... All through the lore, everything you hear about Tannix is he's this. Tannix is like the Elixni version of the Mandalorian. He gets a target, he hunts it down, takes it out, and he does so in a controlled manner, and with a plan that he executes to perfection every time. And yet, I don't know. In the crypt, I just felt like it was a bit of a letdown. Like, we finally go up against Tannix. I remember in the Nightmare Hunt when you do Tannix, and that thing was brutal. Tannix was not fun to fight at all. He was all over the place, he was hitting you with heavy weapons, and then... I don't know, I feel like they let it down a bit. I would like to see Tannix come back, but I would like to see him as a proper...
I feel
not
like...
as an ally,
and
not as an enemy, but like an ally of circumstance. If you know what I mean.
I feel that Tannix should have been brought back after. It should have been hinted at the raid or in the raid armor or whatever that Atrax wasn't the only Elixni that they had messed with. Kind of like people still bring up the fact that there's a Guardian or that there's a warrior in the Cade Stash mission who a lot of people theorize is Master Chief. And Ghost is like, oh, I was going to revive them first, but they said that they had fought enough wars to last, 100 lifetimes, so they sleep now. And it would have been fine if it was like, oh, Atrax wasn't the only Elixni, an Elixni of old, blah, blah, blah. And then later we fight him or whatever.
Yeah,
So I just, it's out of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't care about fighting Taniks. Like if you had brought him back later, set him up, and I mean, you could argue that maybe they would have, but they would have done it in a one and done season or a one and done strike, and that would have lessened his like grandeur. Fair point, but I don't like the fact that he just kind of came out of nowhere, and you had this cool character. You had this like Atrax is basically like the teenager of the Elixni who doesn't know anything about the old world, who is, you know, and there's some pretty horrifying stuff that happens to them, and then yeah, they become a full like, you know, exo that you fight. I don't know.
I would genuinely have liked. And I would still like this to happen. I would like Tanix to come back, and he's fighting both sides. But basically, he's seen what Aramis has done to the Fallen, and he's just flat out like, no, that's not what we are. We are not slaves. We're not slaves to the darkness. We're not going to be friends with the Guardians, but we are. We are not slaves. And it's kind of like, it's a bit like I'm thinking of when we first meet Mithrax. You know, he was fighting the Hive, and he kind of kept trying to keep us out the way type thing. Like, I would rather do that, but instead of Atrax trying to keep us safe, Tanix is trying to kill us as much as he's trying to kill them. But he's more of a, in fact, I think a better way to phrase it would be, he's an ally by accident. His actions in trying to wrestle control of the Fallen away from Aramis kind of aids us, but not intentionally. Like, that would be a better use for Tanix, because it'd be more in line with what he is as a, from the way you read about him. That would be more in line with how he acts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, short version.
For me, that would be that.
Yeah, short version of Tanix comes back. I hope they do it right. All right. Next. Number 89, Rasputin starts to break dance. This one's a bit tough considering where we are right now in Destiny's story. Rasputin starts to break dance. Well, for anybody out there who's getting caught up on the lore and stuff, Rasputin was the Skynet for humanity. If you're not familiar with that reference from Terminator, Rasputin was an intelligence network set up across the solar system meant to help keep us safe, and also controlled like a legion of war satellites, warsats. Rasputin had a long and varied story, including at one point he made a copy of himself. This guy's going to kick the ball, isn't he? No, he jumped away. Yeah, he made a copy of himself so that he could live as basically a walking, talking robot and learn what, you know, really was going on with humanity. That robotic frame, actually became destroyed and then revived as its own individual sentient guardian named Fellwinter. And yeah, so there's a long and in the last like year or so, we've been waiting for Rasputin to come back. He came back this season, and I'm getting some drop frames there. That's weird. Hopefully you can hear me all right, chat. Apologies for that. Yeah, he came back and he helped us once again try to save humanity and fight off some dark forces, while learning along the way, you know, to be more than a weapon. By the way, as a reminder, we are doing all of this for the Extra Life charity event, and Fellwinter, or at least an art piece of Fellwinter, is actually up for grabs. Every $10 donation gets you into the prize draw to win an art print that I will mail to you, and Fellwinter is one of them. So, yeah, Rasputin starts to breakdance. I mean, I'm no musician, but what's the one song that he always plays? It's Tchaikovsky's what? Does that really fit to breakdance in? I don't know.
I see. Rasputin starts to breakdance. Anna goes wild. Wants to know who's been tampering with him. Turns out Drifter snuck in a bit of music. Drifter figured he needed a little. He just needed a little bit of rebelliousness in him.
Mm-hmm.
Popped in a bit of rap and a bit of hip hop, and Rasputin likes to dance.
I mean, Rasputin's a big fan of music. We've seen that all throughout his character's history. So, maybe once he does gain legs, he would want to use them, right?
Gets like challenges Aramis to a dance off.
Yeah.
Winner takes all.
Nice. Well, if you have number 89 chat, fill it out. Let's keep going. You can break anything if you dance poorly enough. Words to not live by. All right. Next. Number 45. Pradith escapes the vault of glass. Nice.
This is something people want to happen.
For sure, for sure. As a reminder, who is Pradith? Pradith was a guardian who was one of the first to explore the Vault of Glass. Vault of Glass was a Destiny 1 raid. Actually, it's on Destiny 2 as well. Yeah, the Vault of Glass is basically a Vex laboratory where they not only have the ability to simulate different timelines, but they actually control time and space within the vault. Meaning if you go into the vault and the Vex decide to erase you from time, then you are erased from time. So it's a very dangerous place. Pradith got lost. Well, he got lost in time. And a lot of people have been wanting him to come back because it was implied in his lore that there is a chance that he could come back. And there was even more lore that came out just around the time of Beyond Light. And of course, this Guardian has to ruin it. Guardians, sometimes they're fun and they like to sit around and dance. And other times they see that I'm sitting here next to this ball and they just come in and ruin the fun for everyone.
I've just sat in the chair in the helm. The one where the Scion was.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons that we have the helm, because Bungie wanted a space where Guardians could have cutscenes without being interrupted. But Juliet requested green ball, so here we are. Did it come back? Did it not fall off the edge? Yeah, so Praise is coming back. A lot of people have been wanting that, and I can't see down there if the ball... Oh, I fell. Oh, there it is.
I mean, first of all, he would have to be helped. Pradith is a man, and it is a he.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like to check. You never know with Destiny.
Yeah.
And I don't like to misgender. So, first thing that you would have to do is hopefully get him to understand how many years had passed since he'd gone. Because things will have changed. Although, in the eyes of Destiny, not much has changed. That's because we haven't gone into the last city much. But so that would have to happen. But remind me, what class was Pradith? Titan.
No, I think Pradith was a hunter. I think.
Yeah. I mean, if they had the experiences from while they were there, I mean, that would be useful information. Like, how did they survive Vex deletion? I would imagine if they were going to do it, if Bungie were going to bring Pradith back, it will be in a Vex season that is a proper Vex season for once. Not the Vex are involved, but an actual all-out attack on the Vex in some way, or a Vex incursion that requires all of our attention.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the Aspect lore book, It's implied that Praedyth was working with a bunch of the simulated Ishtar scientists who were also trapped in the Vex network. And it
Mm.
was literally the book ends with them making the leap to uh, to come back to reality. So it definitely does feel and seem like something that could happen. And I don't know what Bungie's waiting for, but maybe they're just waiting for the Vex to come back.
Predath would be the ideal. Like it, there's two characters that you could realistically say would be the best two characters to lead a Vex season. One is Saint, but I
Mm-hmm.
think he's too integral to the story, and he was more intricate to the Fallen.
Well, yeah, and also, oh, for God's sakes, sorry.
No, it's all right.
You
Like,
could what you do with that is you just make Saint in charge of the defenses.
mm,
He's in charge of the defenses here. Praedyth is in charge of like investigation and there you go. Just knock it off the tower. Good for you.
but that is definitely the way you would do it. You would obviously you would have to mention Saint because of his experience in the Vex and the forest.
Yeah.
But as you said, leave him at the city because he's not going to leave the city. He's not going to leave Osiris anyway.
Yeah.
And then you have Praedyth leading the charge, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Like
it,
he's the one helping
if
you. Yeah.
it would be good if at the end of a season, the cutscene flashes to the cave at the end of the Vault of Glass, and a portal opens up and Praedyth falls out.
Yeah. 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 I
You
see.
know what I mean? Like he tumbles out, his ghost sort of heals him up, and he's like, "Get a message to Zavala now," and then because isn't there a reference to you do the Vault of Glass, and then am I right? Isn't there a line where people suddenly start to remember his voice? There's something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and then
They
they can't
basically
remember why.
you could go back. What after the Vault of Glass was investigated by the newer round of Guardians, the Taken actually got in there. The Taken got into the vault and started kind of breaking it down a bit, and Praedyth's voice escaped through time, um, and yeah, once that happened, people went, "Oh yeah, that name is familiar," and it was essentially that he was deleted from the timeline, but then the cracks in the vault allowed him to come back. And then there was a mission where you found his skeletal remains, and he basically says, "Tell them I lived," or but it's still implied that it's one of those quantum things where it's implied that he is and isn't trapped in the vault. But that leaves a lot of ability for him to come back. All right, accelerating these a little bit. We've got 82. Shax consistently smells like old books and Swiss cheese. I don't know what people are
Uh,
going for with this idea, but I mean, yeah, if we take a not great perspective, I mean, if he never removes his helmet, does he shower with the thing on? Like, does he shower, or does he just like get himself eviscerated and have his helmet and himself restitched by his ghost? Yeah.
I always imagine Shaq as an old school knight.
Mm-hmm.
So as a matter of honor, he doesn't take his helmet off in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
But once he's in, the reason he smells of old books and cheese is what nobody sees is at the end of the day he goes home, the helmet's off, feet are up, he's got a pipe and he's in a library and he just sits there eating cheese sandwiches, reading books.
Somebody who can recite the Tempest of all books by heart is definitely someone who reads a lot or
They're a
has
scholar.
yeah, exactly.
Like, if you think knights as in movie knights, they were learned and wise and, Knights
Mm-hmm.
of the Templar style thing. So I could see that. I could totally see him smelling of old books and cheese. Just, wine, cheese, books, stack of books on the other side. Yeah, totally doable.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 52. A lot of twos here. the factions come back. So again, just to keep everybody in the loop, the factions were a group of non-player characters, group of organizations within Destiny, right from Destiny 1 and also in Destiny 2. You had 3 of them: New Monarchy, Future War Cult, Dead Orbit. And basically they were kind of like the political parties of the city. There's a bit of backstory history about them. We had a bunch of different political parties rising up in the city as it rose, and the leaders at B, including the speaker, were like, we need to like put some rules on who can and cannot be, political in this city. And there was like a faction war where they fought. And in fact, the map Bannerfall, if you ever play Destiny, you play on Bannerfall, it actually was the site of that battleground. You'll notice in Bannerfall that there are red tapestries and flags at one side of the map, and there are green flags at another side with a fist. The symbol is a green flag with a fist on it. And even in Destiny 1, there was a quest where you could go and you could find a hidden message in a sparrow from Lysander, who was a member of the Concordat, which was a faction that was the green-fisted faction that fought with New Monarchy. Factions are gone. At Season of Splicer, Future War Cult, the leader of Future War Cult, started going extremely alt-right, and things went really badly for them, and they've basically fallen apart. And New Monarchy and Dead Orbit essentially left, which is really, really tough. The last city is always something that's rarely ever, given a lot of time of day, and I feel like it's pretty crazy that Bungie has put out lore where people have shown like poor conditions or dissatisfaction with the leadership, either the Vanguard or the factions, and then the factions leave, and we're supposed to believe that the last city is thriving. It's a bit weird, but it's. I would normally say, well, it's a video game and it's an action shoot 'em up first person shooter video game, but Bungie isn't afraid to dive into real issues, but they do seem to be afraid of showing the last city with any kind of granularity at all. So, yeah, that's a lot of talking. What do you think, Six?
Factions come back. The only way you would bring them back, realistically, in the current storyline, is they've aligned with the Witness. New Monarchy wants to take over. The Witness uses its power of persuasion and manipulation, and basically promises them, look, you help me overthrow the thingies, the city's yours, and we'll leave it at that, and they go along with it. So I could see them doing it. It would be interesting to have. It would be interesting for Bungie to go outside of their normal comfort zone and have humans as part of the bad guys, because normally they avoid human awoken and exos being truly bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really fight. If you think in the game, we don't really go up against those forces in an aggressive way. So they would have to step outside the comfort zone, but I could see it happening. It's something I could see as a storyline. But if they came back of their own accord and they weren't allied with anything, let's be honest, they'd be arrested. Civil unrest and damage done to the city, they would have to stand trial and face accountability for their actions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Lil She-Bear is adding some fuel to that. She says, if Dead Orbit New Monarchy tried to leave the system, they presumably crossed paths with the Black Fleet. It means they're dead or they defect. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was like some predictions, and there was an alternate version of the future that had a fleet of factions leaving the system. Yeah, I put out a video a long time ago theorizing on the future of Destiny, and I basically said that we have two large paths that we could take. We could go out or we could go in. Going out is leaving the system after the big fight and going to other worlds. Going in is more of a maybe a Fallout kind of situation where we deal with and try to improve the colonies and cities and planets that we have. Basically wondering if Destiny will ever go the route of actually having populated areas with people and problems, but that's a very optimistic route. So if the factions came back, yeah, it does go outside Bungie's comfort zone for them to go in that kind of way, but it could also be an interesting opportunity, yeah. She-Bear says, it's kind of funny the new monarchy wants Zavala as king, but he said no. Now the factions are gone. He is de facto king. He's the only political force left, really. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Like, Zavala doesn't want to be the leader of humanity, but right now we haven't had enough of a breathing space to allow anything other than the military to essentially be leading humanity. It's a lot. Psalm says, I think after Lightfall, hoping Bungie goes toward a Mass Effect style story. Yeah, what do you mean by that, Psalm? Like that we go out and join the Galactic Republic or whatever it is? We'll see. Alright, next ideas popping up on the list. Number 27, Eris Morn's ship gets destroyed again. A little Destiny 1 reference. Basically, Cade, during the Taken King campaign, Cade stole Eris Morn's ship because it was all hive and spooky, outfitted it with a cloaking device, and we used it to board the Leviathan. How do we explore
in true Cade fashion, it didn't work properly.
Mm-hmm. Elle says, I know some people love to have a life without politics, but unfortunately politics are an important part of society. So I know in-game content seems factions are a relevant thing, but narratively it could be a good call to introduce how the Vanguard organized the political life within the city. Yeah, you... No worries, Al. We'll take out that comment. I mean, I agree with you. I've always wanted... So here's the thing. It's, you know... If you look at all the marketing for the game, and if you look at the main, like, emotion that Bungie is trying to convey with your experience as a Guardian, it's very action-packed, right? And it can be very, very difficult to have any kind of political or any kind of game that focuses on, like, the people of the last city when you're supposed to be running, sliding, shooting, jumping, stuff like that, right? Yeah, did I not say the Dreadnought? Dork? Or are you just adding more info? So a lot of games will do this, where they will present kind of this perfect place that you're supposed to protect, and then you go out into the dangers of the world and you deal with all of that. And that's what they've done, right? The last city is supposed to be this, like, jewel, this thing we're protecting, and we're not supposed to look too closely. Oh, I said Leviathan. Yeah, okay, sorry, Dreadnought. Yes, the Oryx's Dreadnought. My bad, thank you. Yeah, we're not meant to look too closely at the last city and worry that there are problems at home, right? Especially because as a Guardian, how are we going to solve those problems, right? Are you going to go and, like, I don't know, go to a town meeting and listen to the problems that the civilians have? Like, so on the one hand, I get it. I get why Bungie doesn't go too, like, political or too, you know, into that. But on the other hand, I'm not convinced that the people at home are safe or well taken care of, so me, you know, fighting off some universe-ending plague on the outside of the system has less of an emotional impact for me if I believe that, you know, why protect the people back home if the people back home are not protected anyway? She-Bear says, well, there's someone in the cast of characters concerned with making a lot of civilians better. Yes, exactly. We've all mourned for the lack of Hawthorne in our lives. Sometimes I think Neomuna will be the first example of Bungie touching some aspect of political structure, at least how things have been running in Neomuna. I value your optimism. I am optimistic as well, but I'm also extremely cynical of this specific point. They literally put the citizens of Neomuna into like a Matrix style simulacrum so that they don't have to deal with them. Now that's a common video game move, right? It's very common in a video game to evacuate a city so you don't have to have civilians running around. But it does have the consequence of we don't have to worry about it. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we can go into that like mainframe at some point, or maybe something could start to come out. Could be interesting. All right, so Eris Morn's ship gets destroyed again. That's a good point. I don't know if I've seen... There might be a little bit of lore about her, like whatever new ship she has, but I actually don't know. I don't think... Yeah, that's an interesting point. I wonder if there's any lore to discuss actually what ship she has or what kind of ship she has. There might be stuff like where she's on the lore that came out during Season of Arrivals, where she's like on the tree, like on Io with the Tree of Silver Wings. Yeah, I'm curious.
I mean, she did say that Cade owed her a ship.
Yeah, but whether he got her one between that incident and Forsaken, I don't know. She wasn't even in the game until Shadowkeep, right? I don't think so.
In the background, I imagine if Eris Morn is after you, you pretty much do what you want.
Yeah, that's true. But I imagine she probably... I'm imagining... There's a good prompt for all you writers and artists out there. I imagine... What does Eris's ship look like? I'm imagining the classic, like, whatever it's called, the classic ship that we first got, but, like, dark as heck, and, like, you know, Eris Morn style.
Well, the last one was very hivey, but Eris has gone through a lot. So, I don't know. I think she would have a very sleek ship, and I'm based that on, if you remember at the start of Lightfall? No, not Lightfall. Stasis one.
Beyond Light?
Yeah, Beyond Light. If you remember Beyond Light, when you saw what I call the Dark Vanguard fighting, Eris was very, very smooth. It was all precise and just flawed and elegant. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just imagine her ship now would be just this very elegant, very stealthy style in and out sort of ship, you know? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The sort of thing that could run a what's the word I want?
Yeah, it could make the castle run in, 12 parsecs.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, that sort of thing. Like, I just get the impression that's how she would be now, because she's changed a lot since she first arrived.
Yeah, that's fair. Plus, she has a very close relationship. She has a very close relationship with like Eris Morn and the Awoken, so I wouldn't put it past her to have something like in a little bit of that kind of a style. All right, number 92, Drifteris being canon. Drifteris is speaking of ships, it's the relationship name behind the idea of Drifter and Eris being a couple. First really got a glimpse of that during Season of Arrivals. The two of them were on the radio a lot during the Contact public event, and then we saw a bit more of that in the banter in the Prophecy Dungeon. And ever since then, there's been a lot of... They really, whatever their relationship is, they found a really good friend and partner, at least, in each other. To put it over simply, they're both weird. They're both outsiders. They both are not exactly they're not afraid of getting their hands dirty. They're not, and they're both afraid of the darkness, but not to the point of rehabilitation, more to the point of experimentation and rebellion. So, hey, Pens, how you doing? So there's been
Agreed.
a lot. In fact, speaking of Drifteris, two of the art prints that are up for grabs in our charity event, one of them is Drifter, and one of them is Eris, and it is made by probably one of the biggest Drifteris stands in the community, the artist Hey Kabir. She's got a lot of beautiful artwork that she's drawn of the two of them, like everything from just really sweet moments of them sitting together to really silly things, goofing around. Definitely check out her portfolio, and yeah, it's great. It's lovely. Um, other than your
I
wife,
could I could definitely see them together though.
mm-hmm.
Like they're kindred spirits, so yeah, you could see that. You could see them balancing each other out.
Yeah.
Eris would give Drifter something to stick around for that he's not normally had.
Mm-hmm.
And Drifter would give Eris. Drifter would bring a sense of fun to Eris that she probably lacks. She's lacked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see that he keeps calling her silly names and saying he's sent her stuff, and you can hear it in the voice actor's voice when they're doing it that it's supposed to be amusing to her. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that'd be a good couple. I think it would work.
Oh, I see, Pent. You got asked to start the crock pot from your wife, and you forgot to mute your mic. Yeah, that happens. The one I always worry about for myself is that it's not that far from where I am to where our bathroom is, and around this time of night, Lazarus goes crazy and goes to the bathroom. And I just, most of you know this story, so when I say I'll be back, you know that's what's going on. But I always worry I'll forget to mute, and then you'll just hear a flushing toilet and be like, ew, what's he doing? All right. Number 114, Zavala becomes a Strand main. This is interesting. So first off, chat, feel free to let me know if any of you are getting close. If any of you got a few of these already or not. We might have to change the rules of the game if, we have 119 prompts. Each card has 25 squares. 25 is a lot. Little She Bear has 2. Anybody have more than 2? Let's see who has the most. 3, 2. Oh boy, 4 for Tower Mom. All right. Well, we'll have to see. We may have to speed these up.
Well, what we might have to do is just we'll get through, and at a point where we arbitrarily decide that's enough.
Whoever has the most
wins.
Yeah, exactly. Zavala becomes a Strand main. 6 thoughts.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It would mean, well, see, you could kind of understand it because the Guardian's going to find it. So over the last couple of seasons, Zavala's been through a crisis of conscience. He's seen his faith in the Traveler tested, and the Traveler let him down. And he's seen the darkness and what it can do. And, he's questioned the light a lot. So he agreed to use darkness effectively because the Guardian was using it successfully. So, yeah, if the Guardian found Strand, and even though it's a darkness power, it's not a gift from the Witness, it's something the Guardian found and used, I could totally see Zavala going, yeah, I'll use that. I'm tired of the Traveler, I'm tired of the Witness, I'm tired of this war, killing the people I'm here to protect. I could see him moving over to Strand. And as, he is a Titan main, and you could also see Zavala is one of those people you could literally see grappling himself onto an enemy ship so that he can get close and take it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I actually think there's a good story. There is a basis for a good storyline where he does become a Strand main as the resident darkness power user. I could totally see that being something that he would do, given recent events. What do you think, Kaz?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because he's been such a lawful good character for so long. The light has been, um, the light has been on it, like his prime focus. I guess it depends. I mean, I don't know if Zavala's gotten to a place yet where he is able, like, I said a long time ago that Zavala may never move to trust the darkness, at, like the force of darkness, but he is willing to trust us. It's possible that he may, relax his stance, or that he may view the darkness as just, it's just another flavor of paracausal power. It's not necessarily, anything wrong with it. It's possible he may get there, but he's probably one of the furthest from getting there. One thing that does interest me, and one way that I could make this work in my head, is that, Guardians are, like, the Guardian or Guardians are supposed to find Strand, and it is a darkness power, but it is a darkness power that we create. And it got me thinking that maybe, and it's supposed to be like lines of force between dimensions or realities or possibilities. So here's the thing. The final shape is all about, and the darkness, like the witness, is all about moving the universe to one scenario, right? So imagine all possibilities narrowed down to one possibility. The only possibility where the strongest thing survives and nothing changes, everything's like that. Whereas the light is all about combination, cooperation, possibility, right? Disruption. So in a way, I find it interesting. Thanks, Badger.
That's a little Badger.
In a way, I find it interesting that we have that the Strand is this darkness power that is apparently connecting lines of force or energy between timelines. But they also mentioned in the Vidoc that it's connecting life, or like consciousness. Zavala said in the last cutscene we saw him in that we still have each other to look to. So you could see him, Strand as not only a way to like web up our enemies, but a way to connect us to each other. So it's a little bit of a wishy-washy, but that could be a way that, that Zavala could get his mind and heart wrapped around Strand, I think. All right, number 50, Deej becomes a Guardian. So for those of you who are a bit newer or less terminally online, Deej was he was like the community manager at Bungie for quite a long time. Very popular amongst people, and he hosted like almost every like live. Bungie used to do a thing when they were showing off, like instead of doing a Vidoc, they used to do, like they would go to the studio and they would sit down with a couple of people from the studio and talk about the game. And Deej was there. I've probably seen artwork of Deej himself as a Guardian because he, was beloved by the community and then he moved on to other games. That would mean he would have to unalive. I mean, I guess it depends, right? Like, sure. I mean, most Guardians are implied to have to have, died and then come back, but it's also magic, so yeah.
Well, if he did and he was that popular, then he could potentially be. He could be the hunter replacement for Kid.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's a community manager, if he's such a beloved community manager, he would be good at handling groups, and potentially might have the ability to actually, organize and manage the one group that doesn't want to be organized and managed, which is the hunters.
Yeah,
could be interesting.
That's fair. Little Shoe Bear said he did a silly little dance that became an emote, so arguably he already is. Well, there you go. There you go. Alright, next one. Lord Bingo. Number 19. The Architects unleash their full wrath. This one is also funny because Bungie has basically recently said that we will not be able to take... what's it called? We're moving to a place in Destiny where... what what did I... Architect.
Fall damage, was it? Fall. Eventually we won't take fall damage, but right now if you get stomped and you hit a wall, it isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, first they're going to remove the ability from like wall physics to kill you, and then they're going to remove fall damage from killing you. But it was also a joke, because Destiny, for the longest time, if you did get smashed into a wall, it said you got killed by the architects. And so a lot of people were, coming up with, who are these architects, like what could they be, and, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, what would their full wrath would be? I mean, right now their wrath is that if we smash into a wall too fast, we'll get harmed. I mean, what, is every wall just going to be full of spikes?
The architects are just gravity.
Turns out
the architects are just gravity, yeah.
Turns out that the architects were actually the 9.
The 9, yeah.
And they've basically their full wrath is the 9 come and invade and try to take over. I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
That would be funny. We defeat Light and Dark, we get over to whatever's next, and then the 9 just pop up and are like, well, it turned out there was loads of us. The 9 was just the ruling council. So, that could be funny.
Mm-hmm. Alright, number 80, Savathun gets a throat lozenge, so like a cough drop, basically. I have no idea the idea, reasoning behind that one. If anybody's gonna get like a cough...
Because she has a raspy voice.
I guess, but honestly, like, if you're gonna give that to someone, you're gonna give that to, like... You're gonna give that to Varix? Zur, maybe? Who else? Spider? Spider's got a lot of that kind of, a cough drop. Like a thing you take to relax your throat and yeah. Saladin's a good one.
I don't think it would work.
Well, yeah. Hold on a second. Al is asking what it is. It's a thing a thing you take that helps your throat feel better when you have a cold. Lozenge is a specific word. In North America, we call it a cough drop. It is a small, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter thing. Yeah. Saladin, he loses his voice during Crucible matches. That's true, actually. Yeah. He if you get a we ran out of medals, then he starts like screaming like Reaper from Overwatch because it's the same voice actor, and then he starts coughing. So that's a good one. Yeah.
I don't think it would work on Savathun because the structure of the hive's throat probably is not how ours works.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Eris would know. She did an autopsy literally on Savathun's corpse during a couple of seasons ago. So we'll have to go and ask her.
Interesting one, but short of being able to speak with a clearer voice, I can't see what it would do.
Looks like we've got one from Juliet. I'll talk about that in a second. Psalm says, is Savathun's corpse disposed of? No, locked up under lock and key, I think. I mean, they never specifically said what she did after, but she did an autopsy on Savathun, and I doubt she would throw that away. It was even mentioned, I believe, during when Drifter was like talking to her about the reliquary, like the Nezarec stuff. Both he and she had like jars of suspended biological matter, stuff like that.
I don't think they could risk getting rid of Eris destroying Savathun's body. As far as we're working on the assumption that Amaru can't bring her back unless he can get near her body. But if we destroy her body, we potentially create a situation where Maru can then raise her anywhere he wants, because there would be no physical corpse. And there's precedence for that, because if you think about it, in the game, if we fall off something and we drop down a pit that's really deep, we get raised higher up once our body gets destroyed. So potentially they would never destroy Savathun's body in case she gets brought back again.
Yeah, there's been a lot of theory as to like what could happen. Like, is the reason that Savathun hasn't been brought back by Amaru, is it because Eris has the body? And like, yeah, there's a lot. Some says I think we'll need Savathun's help. Yeah, there's been a lot of people wondering.
Oh, I imagine we will.
A lot of people wondering if that's going to happen. But I'm going to say it a little louder so she can hear me in another room. I think one of Juliet's ideas is on the board.
I'll be 2 seconds because I've got to. Green Ball is the true traveler. I gotta go let the dogs out. I'll be 2 minutes, but keep going and I'll play catch up.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Green Ball is the true traveler, is this next theory. So Green Ball, you can see it in the background, funny enough. Basically, I don't know when it started, at least more than a year ago, at least. This ball here has been in the game since the beginning of Destiny 2. And what you're supposed to do is if you push the ball to a specific place on the map, then the ball will vanish and some fireworks will go off. And if you push all 5 of them to the right place, the sky will light up with fireworks. But for some reason, Green Ball, for over a year now, has been bouncing. All the other balls, they just land and they sit there. But Green Ball specifically always bounces. In fact, I made a kind of a music video. You can see linked in the channel, !DJ, with Green Ball in it. Because it was just fun to have this ball that's dancing around. Green Ball is a new traveler. Well, Strand is green, and we're getting our powers. So, yeah, Psalm, you thought the same thing as me. Maybe we get our powers from Green Ball, Very active deity, if I say so. The first wielder, yeah. Show me your secrets, Green Ball. How can I move like you? How can I dance my way through Neomuna? It's one of those things where, I don't even know if Bungie, if anybody at Bungie who is responsible for fixing anything, I don't even know if they know about it. Because it's a really specific thing. It's not the main ball that's here, it's the second one. And, they're doing other stuff. They're looking at other stuff. And it's one of those things where even if they did know about it, why would they fix it, right? It's not breaking the game in any way. And even if it were, it's such a minute way, they have too many other things to worry about. So I hope, Talon says, I'm sure they do. Maybe. Maybe there are people at Bungie who know about it, but I'm wondering if the people who are in charge of fixing bugs and stuff know about it. And again, even if they know about it, and even if it were a problem, I don't know, if you do what I'm doing and sit in front of the ball for too long, you could freeze your game or something. It's such a low priority list that they would never devote any time to fixing it. It's one of those interesting things where I love Destiny, but I feel like they don't have enough staff. I feel like if they wanted to go and fix every problem in the game, they would need to double or triple their staff. And it would not be economical to do that at all, but I hope they never fixed it. I see no problem with it, and it's fun. Number 35, Zavala becomes a hunter for a day to honor Cade 6. Alright, let me write that down. Make it fit in a line. Yeah, I mean, it would be quite humorous actually to see Zavala try to act like a hunter, right? Like I don't exactly know how the jump abilities in Destiny like work, but I guess I imagine that they they're just a manifestation of your light or your dark. So it'd be really funny for him to be out there like taking off a couple of pieces of armor, finding a cloak, and then trying to modify his jumps so that they were like short bursts rather than the long Titan glide. Maybe he sees like a problem and he wants to race in there and oh yeah, I think he'd be terrible at it. Yeah, for sure. I think he would try really hard. I think he'd struggle with not running in and, putting up a big shield and stuff like that. He says the hunters unnerve him because they move too much. Yeah. Yeah. But, I bet he'd do it, and I bet doing that, knowing Zavala, it would be a teachable moment. And I know that he would do that, and then he would realize, like, wow, like, these guys are coordinating a lot. Like, a newfound respect. He'd get caught in the Cape Hood, yeah. Trip over himself. Nice. All right, how many people got this time? What do you got? Who's got the most? Tower Mom had 4 several ones ago. Anybody have 8? Does anybody have 8 of them? 3 for She-Bear. Ooh, your card is tough. Number 78. Shax loses his other horn. Penn says, when did Edna show up? Well, we were talking about Zavala becoming a hunter for a day, as you can see on the screen. So we were talking about capes and cloaks. Number 78, Shax loses his other horn. How did that happen? It would be World War III if someone broke his other horn. Yeah, I mean, sorry, Pens. I sometimes answer things a little literally. I really like the part of The Incredibles where she's like going into her like secret, fashion bunker. She's just like Edna mode, and the gun comes out, and guest, and then the gun goes back. Pretty funny. He loses the first one in a fallen attack. True. Strand user grabs onto it and broke it off. Dark says loses the other horn would be like a Spartan losing their shield. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of fun ways that you could tell that story, right? You could do a sweet story where Saul tries to catch himself when he tripped in the cape and broke it out. Yeah. Yeah, you could see a couple of things like, maybe a newer Guardian broke it, and Shax has to swallow a lot of anger to deal with it. These guys are pushing the ball the wrong way. Let's see where he pushes it. Is he going to put it in the right place? I think he is. Ido accidentally breaks it? Yeah. It's fine, Guardian. Kick it off the edge. I don't mind. There you go. Alright, we'll move to the next one in a moment. Or bingo. Number 30. Wow, we're getting a lot of Juliet ideas on here, chat. I wonder. Number 30. Rasputin's. WinRAR. License expires. Yeah, well, this one was written before we really knew what was going to happen. Where did they hit that ball over? Oh, there they go again. I just gotta wait, and it will just keep coming back.
Sorry, I'm back. How we doing?
Oh, we're doing all right. Shax loses his other horn, and Rasputin's WinRAR license expires. Yeah, a lot of WinRAR is weird.
But Shax's WinRAR license expired. It just means you couldn't zip any files up.
No. Shax loses his other horn is one idea, and then Rasputin's WinRAR license expires.
Sorry, Rasputin's WinRAR, but WinRAR is a compression program.
Yeah, but his, he's a
much better if he's malware or like expired, because then
yeah,
he'd be inundated with ads.
Well, I think his whole self was compressed into an engram. So if that expired, then he wouldn't have been able to be held on the key for very long. Should have been Rahul. Well, this was Juliet's one, and it was good. I think it was good. There's a lot of people who could use WinRAR, and none of them are going to pay any glimmer for it. I think we can all agree.
Yep.
All right. Number 79. Zer finally gets medical attention for his back. Okay, I need to. All right. Quick question.
Get his back fixed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead, Six. Go ahead.
It said gets his back fixed, stands up straight. Turns out that what we thought were tentacles is just really unkempt hair. He slicks it back. He gets his back straight, and turns out he looks like John Wick.
Oh my god.
He's got the guns.
Yeah. Getting killed by Zer while Zer says my will is not my own would be pretty wild. Quick question from Psalm asking what did I think about what happened to Rasputin. I'll just say I think the shortest answer is at least it was beautifully done. I think that's the easiest way for me to get my ideas across. Literally, people started freaking out thinking Rasputin was going to die a month ago, and I literally retweeted with my video saying, dying or going evil are not the only options for characters, and then he ends up dying. But
I was disappointed. I get it. It was well done. I can see the standpoint it went for, but I still think there was another. It could have been done other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Rasputin was, as I said all along, the ideal person to have permanently on the helm. A general that can control logistics and information and be of an aid to the Guardian in a way that no one else could. He could have been a vendor. Would have been ideal.
Yeah, it's I've heard some people say like, oh well, if Rasputin were around, like he's too powerful, and it's hard to have a character who's that powerful in a story, right? Psalm says I was upset and I thought it was lazy, and I mean that in the most respectful way to Bungie, but doesn't mean he won't come back as a Guardian potentially. Yeah, there's a bunch of things.
I don't want him to.
Yeah, I don't exactly want him to either. I have reasons for that. Um, so okay, I think one thing that was a bit lazy is that for some reason, speaking of compression and WinRAR, Rasputin's character was basically flattened into just being the Warsat thing, right? Rasputin was initially developed as an intelligence program, as an intelligence, and what it was supposed to do was it was supposed to, all information from like humanity was supposed to filter through Rasputin, who could do analysis, data analysis on it, and and predict problems, find ways of eliminating redundancy, find ways of like increasing efficiency. And I guess this identifies a problem with like either Bungie's writing or Bungie's delivery or Bungie's opinion of the community that's interested in story but not interested in lore, which is they flatten things a bit. They just made Rasputin like just a, all I do is control the war mines or the war sats. So if we want the war sats to be destroyed, we have to destroy me. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Pez is saying he should have been a trove of humanity, help humanity, yet he was never used as such. Exactly. Like, Zavala literally complains, and actually, the lore in the final Sparrow that you get, he basically talks about how managing the logistics and the information of running the last city is a job and a nightmare on its own, and he respects, like, the struggle that Rasputin may have had to deal with. And it's like, why did we not just get that? Why could we not destroy the Warsat programs and have Rasputin act? I mean, Failsafe sits on a ship and, presumably does a bunch of calculations and stuff. Why can't we have Rasputin do the same thing? Okay, sure, he can't pull down Warsats anymore, but he could, set up communications thing. He could, Guardian, I spotted an errant signal coming from Neptune, like...
The problem they did is before we had the possibility that Rasputin was going to be an NPC, the Warsats had been turned into these god tier weapons that even Guardians had to be scared of. And it was all like, well, the Warsats killed Fellwinder, and it was like, no, Seaver killed Fellwinder, along with a ton of Warsats and frames. There was a huge amount of effort went into it. And to get rid of the Warsats, they took the easy option and they took Rasputin out. And
I still think they could have.
Would have had a backdoor problem. He would have had an override code that would have took down the Warsat network.
Yeah. Why? Like.
There's just no way that this super smart, super intelligent machine that was designed to protect humanity from all possibilities did not foresee the possibility that the Warsat network could be wrested away from him, and did not put a fail-safe plan in, a backup in place that could not be controlled by anyone but him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the very essence of what they made that character means that what Aramis was doing would never have worked, because he would have just went, nah, we'll shut that down.
Yeah.
Get me on board and shut that thing down. Done.
It's funny that, Sam, you say it's kind of like, you're fine, Sam. You didn't make anything negative. He says, sorry, it's bother. After recover from the emotional damage, Rasputin was a character I resonated with in a real way, but how misunderstood he was. Yeah, I mean, the annoying thing is that it's happened twice now, right? Rasputin was not necessarily brought back, but he was like built up and expanded in Season of Worthy. And then at the end, and even Zavala had this meeting, and he's like, I understand you now. Like, I understand. And then he does his job, and then he's shut down by the, by the Black Fleet. So it's, it's a bit tough. All right, number 41, Rolk skips leg day. I'm pretty sure if Rolk skipped leg day, he just wouldn't go to the gym. I don't think Roke works out any other aspect of his form, right? He's got his arms behind his back the whole time. He's very, like, I don't know, maybe he does a lot of running. Pretty sure that's just
Reminds me of, have you seen the have you seen the matadors that don't use spears?
The only Matador I've seen are cartoon characters with red, like, flags.
So there is a new group of matadors coming on the scene who don't agree that the bull should have to die for the sport.
I mean,
And
yeah.
that, in fact, it's a waste of a talented bull. Like, the really good bulls end up dying. It's a pointless thing, and they no longer use spears. They actually just dodge out the way. They do flips and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue kind of has that mannerism because they kind of move like that. They have their arms behind their backs. They entice the bull and then they do back flips and like front flips over it and stuff. It's extremely acrobatic to watch, and it's actually very enjoyable because the bull is not getting hurt in any way.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't. And but I imagine Rope is like a peak fitness, so if Rope misses leg day, doesn't really make any difference. Like, he would have to miss leg day for like 100 years before it would have any real impact on him.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 16, Savathun enters the real world. Yeah, this one was probably inspired by a lot of lore and dialogue that suggested that characters in Destiny knew that they were in a game. Now, I will say that the jury is out as to whether or not they were talking about the game of life, final shape versus everything else, or if they were talking about Destiny itself. There's some really great dialogue during Season of Drifter when you every week you could go and kind of have a conversation with the Nine, and the emissary is there and she tells the Nine, like, hey, the Guardian can do things you don't know. And the Nine are like, what can the Guardian do? And the Guardian can leave the game. And they're like, what are you talking about? What is this preposterous new power that you speak of? Yeah, breaking the fourth wall, exactly. The idea that we could, and there was a lot there. I forget. I think there's an exotic helmet that actually says something similar, like, Bungie has hinted a few times that characters in Destiny have some characters in Destiny have some awareness that they are in some kind of game or simulation or something like that. Savathun entering the real world. I mean, how, like, forgetting how that would work, because it's space magic. There's a million ways you could probably make that work. What would that even mean? She-Bear said Savathun's VA did a cameo video where she was possessed by Savathun. It was awesome. Yeah, I saw a few. She told Paul Tassi to touch grass, I think, which made me laugh. She was great. Yeah, the voice actress did a lot of fun stuff. My suggestion, if I were to write this, is that if Savathun were to enter the real world, perhaps she could possess her voice actress, or there's there's an older movie with an actor in it I don't really want to talk about, but there's this interesting idea that, there was an alien on Earth, and the person's like, well, why do you look like humans? And basically the answer was, I look the way that you expect me to look. I look the way that, that fits the rules of here. And I like the idea that if Savathun were to break out into the real world, that her form would change to something fitting and accommodating, the real world. Yeah, it's unfortunate, She-Bear, when you can find interesting things from, like, stuff that you don't really want to, like, delve into, right? Dork says she'd probably be taken to Area 51, or she would suppose.
Not really, because she's such a master of manipulation. She'd probably just mask herself and then
Yeah, she'd just be a master manipulator,
look to
right?
seek to take power.
Yeah, interesting. All right, continuing our lore bingo. What do we got? No, we saw that one earlier. Okay, lore bingo thing. You are not doing well in the whole randomness aspect. Appreciate that. Sweeperbot has been an enemy spy the whole time. Number 70.
I've always said you can't trust Sweeper, but work for Callus, that was never going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, there's a couple of instances where Sweeperbot or other bots kind of got, like, possessed by Callus, taken over robotics. For a while, it was literally the vendor for the Leviathan raids and things like that. And, there's,
I mean,
yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
were going to plant a spy, the Sweeper bots would be ideal because nobody looks at the Sweeper bots. They could go anywhere. Nobody. The only other one would be Katie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like nobody pays attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sweeper bot. What are you doing in the archives? Sweeping.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I think there's a.
if they went sweeping, you'd go, yeah, it makes sense.
I remember there was like an Archie comic where, was it like? I think it was Mr. Lodge, like the rich guy, like gets locked out of his own vault or something, and his like, not I don't know, like his housekeeper, she shows up, and she like bumps into the vault and like hip checks it a little bit, and the vault swings open, and she just she cleans it off, and then she walks away, and he's like, how did you do that? How do you know the combination? She's like, oh, I don't, but a good housekeeper needs to be able to get everywhere, kind of thing. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, butler's hanging in the background, and would be a good spy, someone who could
I mean,
move about basically unseen.
Historically, it's been done, hasn't it? Like, the resistance in World War II would try and they would embed people in the staff. And even in ancient history, you would get spies who worked as staff because they were the ones who could poison food, and they were the ones. There's this idea that people with power don't pay attention to people without power, and therefore don't think we probably shouldn't talk about this while those people are there, because they just don't register them as important. And you could have a sweeper bot with just, and all it would have to do is sweep, but it could be listening into every conversation that goes on around it. So I like the idea. It'd be funny.
Sorry, I was muted there, chat. Number 91, Santa Claus banishes the witness away with holiday spirit. Well, first, you have to admit in the lore of Destiny that Santa Claus still exists, which, if he does, has he been participating in the dawning the whole time?
He's an exo.
He's an exo. Well, I have no problem with Santa like existing. If he's a magical like entity, he could still live like for forever. It's just the question of like where has he been? Did another one is there's lore earlier on in Destiny where a person is questioning whether or not Antarctica exists. Either because of the collapse changing the environment or because people have not been there in a long time. So my question is, so Shebear says he has technically been mentioned in lore. Really? I don't remember that. You talking about more dialogue that I don't have memorized?
That's who the sweeper bot's been spying for.
Who's naughty and nice?
Yeah. Santa's been waiting and listening in until the time was right. He needs the witness close to Earth so he can use his magic.
The
Bit like
children.
Silver Surfer.
Ah, another myth of the headless ones. Children of the city were talking about him as a scary monster. Okay, okay, very cool. Yeah, I mean, banishes the witness with holiday spirit. That would be, I mean, you know, always Sandy
That's the
Claus,
third darkness
right?
power.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. The holiday spirit is the third darkness power.
Yeah, it is always funny, right? Like when we have like these crazy like things happening, and then it's like it's the dawning, and all the characters in the dawning have to basically say, you know, we have to take the time to reflect and to be true to each other, and it's like, yeah, but also we need to lock all of our doors because like our city is under siege. But you know, he'd have his cookie shop in the tower. Yeah. Dark says, how do you think Santa would exist in a Destiny context? I mean,
Reindeers are robots, got lasers for nose. That's where Rudolph comes from.
yeah, I would imagine that you know, let leap off of your earlier idea. So Santa was a golden age manufacturer who rivaled Clovis Bray, but he didn't choose to make like, you know, crazy weapons or other kinds of technological things like that. He focused more on building supplies that the city needed and whatnot. And then, you know, you can maybe he lived in a remote area of like northern Canada or Russia or something like that, and there was the collapse, lots of environmental stuff. Maybe he got, you know, cryogenically frozen. Maybe he became an exo, and maybe he, I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to get involved with city life, so he's working through other agents and other things like that. He's vexed. That's how he can get to every house in one day.
He's used his holiday spirit to mask their colony from everybody. A bit like Nia Nuna.
Oh yeah.
Holiday spirit is masked.
Yeah, he's masked his workshop or whatever. Ooh,
yeah, it just looks like a burned out ruin. He's rebuilt the city. He's rebuilt a city, and now he comes back to help the last city because he's finally in a position where he can now produce the supplies at a level like he used to. He's repaired his operation. And you know,
Town Mom says he's the one who placed the penguins for the kids right under Bray's nose.
I was just thinking that, Tyler.
Nice, yeah. And Little Shoe Bear said
the sign of his power was the callous bobbleheads.
Yeah. Shoe Bear says he's vexed. That's how he can get to every house. And then Juliet follows up by saying, and that's why he likes milk, which is quite a good turn of phrase. Nice. All right, keep going. 36. We are an avatar of Nezarec. All right, 36.
Well, I mean, that suits with me. I look good in his armor. So.
Yeah,
that would be a weird one because we don't know enough about how Nezarec acts or why Nezarec is branded a traitor. We assume he turned against them, but we can't.
Yeah, the problem is that like
he would act as an avatar.
The problem with Nezarec is that even though we got more stuff about him, it's basically impossible to place him on any kind of allegiance spectrum, right? Like, is he a creature that had the dark? Is he a creature that had the light? Does he have both, as is kind of implied in his poem? Was he allied with the witness? Did he turn on the witness? Was he allied and then turn on the witness? Right? So, Yeah, I think I've heard something like this before, actually, about the idea that like we, the Guardian, are like an avatar of Nezarec. Um, again, I agree with you. We don't really know what he was or what he wants, so yeah, we could be, but it's hard to say. I know a lot of people are really disappointed in that. I don't know.
It's
It,
it's a difficult one to be. I mean, using the same logic, you could argue that we're an avatar of any character
yeah,
that is, has high abilities. We don't know enough about Nezarec to know what we don't know what would be his motivation for having an avatar that looks like the Guardian,
yeah. I
that
mean,
looks like a Guardian. Do you know what I mean? Like,
simplistically speaking, what I would like one story idea I would have is maybe the fight between light and dark becomes so bad, so violent, so hopeless. And, the Guardian is convinced, like, look, I don't want to be on either side, but I can't just be neutral. And I, like, what do we do? And then maybe the Guardian could, revivify or at least speak with Nezarec. And Nezarec could kind of be that influence who says, go your own way. Don't give in to either of them. Screw them both.
well,
And then
taps into that idea that we had, didn't it? That Nezarec teaches us after Lightfall and after the final shape. Nezarec comes and teaches us how to tap into both without worshipping either.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
It's a nice. I like the thought. I like the thought process of it. There's just he's a character we don't have enough information to form a motivation about what he does or why.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't even know why he turned against. We don't know why he turned against the witness.
Yeah.
So lacking even that. Even if we had that, you would at least could then theorize a bit better about his motivations. But other than that, it's all, it's just the only thing you could do is say, well, he's done it because he wants to beat the witness.
Yeah. Let's see. 66. The ramen shop opens a franchise on Neptune. Dork says, how would that work if nobody knew about Neomuna? I think the idea is that they would now know about Neomuna and they would open a shop on Neomuna now. Unless you're asking about like all this Nezarec stuff. I don't know. Yeah, number 66. The ramen shop opens a franchise on... Oh, I wrote on Neptune. Well, I mean, yeah, same. That's what's written there, yeah. Well, they're going to have a bit of a hard time because most of the civilians of Neomuna are, like, digitized into some kind of matrix. But then again, that means that the only people who are on Neomuna or on Neptune will be Cabal and Guardians. And Guardians love ramen. So your prime audience is right there.
Yeah.
Let me think. If you're gonna set up, you gotta definitely set up on a high floor. Virtual ramen, yeah, maybe they could offer some kind of virtualized ramen for the civilians there. Offer a little splash of different life and entertainment for the people of Neomuna. If you're gonna set up a physical place, though, you gotta go high. You gotta they gotta get an elevator working, and they gotta set up way up because Guardians are not setting foot on the ground. Most Guardians there are discovering this new power, and they're zipping along Neomuna. So yeah, maybe have some
Blade
kind of...
Runner, is it not Blade Runner? Fifth Element, where the ship just drifts up to the door.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking something similar. Yeah, with the car floats up to a floating... See, what you gotta also do, there you go. If you're gonna have a virtual ramen shop, have an app as well. Guardians can text it, and then they could fly by and just grab their ramen on the go, right? Green ramen noodles. Oh my God.
Guardian through instead of a drive-through.
Yeah, Guardian through. On Earth, you'd probably have a Sparrow drive-through kind of thing, but on Neomuna, it definitely has to be something that you can swing by because, otherwise you're not gonna get a lot of traffic. Nice. Ooh. Man, this is like the Juliet idea hour. A lot of her ideas are the ones coming through. Somebody get in there and tamper with my algorithm. Number 39. Ikora drops her skincare routine, and it actually contains Vex milk. 39. Ikora's skincare routine contains Vex. Can I fit all of this? I can. Yeah, I mean, you know,
I mean, if she did, you've got to assume that she's slowly becoming Vex.
yeah, unless she's using unless she's using such a micro dose that all it's doing is like repairing surface level skin, and then she uses the light to try to basically like expunge the radiolaria from her, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, like Vex milk contains radiolaria, which are these small, like, robotic microorganisms. So she could somehow, like, program them to have one mind of not converting her skin into Vex architecture, but converting her skin into, you know, idyllic, perfect skin. Then
she drops the fact she uses it, but on the box when you see it, she starts marketing it, but on the box it says may pick up local radio stations.
Yeah.
That could be funny.
Yeah, that's fun. Hey, Low Tech, how you doing? All right. Okay, we did that one already. Number 102, we'll go to Old Chicago. All right.
Well, it's been hinted at, and we would all love to.
Yeah. Ooh, the light in the tower is really weird right now.
We go to Old Chicago, and we meet with the Hidden, and we find out that there's an as yet unmet colony of fallen stroke Elixni that have rebuilt the city. And then we reach out to Mithrax and try and broker a truce, bring them into the fold of the Fallen and under the banner of House Light. That would be fun.
Yeah, I was really thinking we were gonna get Old Chicago at one point. I was pretty optimistic for, like, I love the idea of, I mean, anybody who's watched The Last of Us recently, they've shown some cityscapes with, like, skyscrapers that have fallen over and, you know, we're full of, like, vines and all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah, Old Chicago is a cool place. Apparently, in the lore from Season of the Hunt. Oh, that guardian just booped the traveler ball off the tower. Yeah, in the lore of the of Season of the Hunt, there are, you know, guardians who were in Old Chicago and they were being chased by some creature that stalked them. So, yeah, if we go, we got to be careful.
Oh, that's where Trevor moved.
That's where Trevor moved. Not a lot of floors to buff there, but maybe in the abandoned buildings or something. Number 96, Braytech / Black Armory merger. Interesting. 96.
I mean, given the style of their weapons, it would be. I'd at least get some modified version of my blast furnace back, and I'd be happy.
I mean, in a way, you can see something like that happening because, like, the Black Armory was essentially created so that they could, equip people to handle themselves, like,
Yeah.
No, no matter.
Create
Yeah.
create weapons that would make people the equal of guardians. Effectively, the Black Armory wanted to create super weapons that would allow people to do things guardians could sort of do.
Hmm.
In case, partly, I liked how they did the whole thing because it was kind of like, well, guardians aren't always going to be here, and we need super duper weapons. Plus, don't actually know if we can trust the guardians completely. So let's us normal humans make sure we've got some protection. Like
Hmm.
it was never it never outright said it, but the way they used to use the text to describe the Black Armory behavior was like it was always a bit like, well, we're protecting ourselves, plus we don't quite trust that lot,
Well, that's
which is
it. I mean,
fair.
this was still early where guardian as a term didn't really exist. It was,
Mm-hmm.
like they were still describing ghosts as some kind of, drone, and they were still describing like these powerful warriors, not as guardians. So yeah, you could um, definitely see a little bit of where that's coming from, for sure. Let's see if this background here will be decent for a little bit of our stream. No, probably the window there. Maybe here. No, gotta go to the other side. Sure, why not? All right. So again, reminder everybody, we are doing all of this for our charity event. Who's got the most? Who's got your card has 25 spots on it, which includes a free space. How many spaces do you have filled in that are not the free space? Who's got the most?
Well, I'm gonna have to call it chat because I have work early in the morning, so I've got to be up at 5:30. So
Yeah,
looking
no worries,
forward to
Six.
seeing who wins. But I shall jump away and I shall catch up with you tomorrow to find out who won.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good.
All right, everyone. It's been fun. Catch you all later.
Catch you later, Six. Thanks.
All right, man.
We've got a lot of people with 6, which means that we have to keep going because we need. Juliet has 7. Wow. 106. Is there even more harder Vex than the Wyvern? Alright. Hold on a second. I mean, for sure, right? Like the Wyverns were described as kind of the first like combat unit that Guardians that we've ever faced. So and they're just like, speaking of leg day, they're walkers. They walk and kick and jump. So Juliet, you can't win by that much of a margin. Then people will think it's corrupted. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure we'll see them. I do hope we see more. I do think the Vex will play a very strong, prominent part. No, I didn't say you couldn't win. You just can't win by that much of a margin. You gotta win by 1 point, not 2, not 12. Um, yeah, I think the Vex will become like a something that we really have to fight later. I really hope that they do a good job with that because the Vex are really cool, but they're kind of a harder group to write story around because normally you want a central antagonist, a main bad guy. It's very difficult when your main bad guy is like a hive mind of enemies. I mean, Season of Undying, we had this one Vex that we just kept like cornering and killing. Didn't really feel an emotional attachment there other than the concern over the city. And what was the other one? Yeah. Vex has just not really been handled well, I think, story-wise for a while. 93 possible universe crossovers with D2 Universe. All right, well, sound off, chat. What universe would you like to see crossed over with Destiny? What would you like to see, or on the other hand, what would you really not like to see? Is there Warframe or Halo? Yeah, I find it really cute with the excuse me, the 30th anniversary stuff with all the with all the hints and references. Apparently, like Master Chief or like a version of Master Chief's like escape pod like showed up, and we got the Forerunner from it. I want to find Cortana and Neomuna. Bionicle. I don't know much about Bionicle other than they're like kind of like robotic things, and people love the lore of Bionicle. Like people go crazy over it, but I don't know anything about it. Animal Crossing, I've been saying that for a while. I mean, we had a farm and then we lost it. I would love a kind of Animal Crossing Destiny thing. Even like mechanically, I would like that so that we could actually, you know, like farm for equipment and things. Aliens versus Predator versus Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla versus Light versus Dark. That's a lot. That would be intense. That would just be a skybox full of screaming tech monsters. Literally a Bionicle hero with light-based powers. Cool. I'm being silly. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, She-Bear. Be as silly as you want. That's great. Sam says, I wonder if failsafe will be in Lightfall. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe one thing that would be interesting is like it's a stretch, but maybe failsafe could be brought in maybe in a future season if Neomuna is like is under a better state. Maybe we could go into the Neomuna Matrix or whatever, the Neo Matrix, and maybe failsafe could help with that or something, because she like simulated Captain Jameson and the crew at one point. I don't know. Oh, this one looks like it might be a She-Bear prompt. 113. Hawthorne and Zavala actually go out for those chicken nuggets. Nice. Oh, Kate's chicken. No. Oof. Yeah, there's a I actually told Juliet about this one, but she probably she either doesn't remember or she repressed the memory, and I wouldn't blame her either way. But back when Callus first made a bit of a return, there was a lore book that was essentially Cabal fan fiction. It was the idea that Callus asked his scions to predict the future for him. And it was a bunch of like possible futuristic scenarios, but they were also like really odd. And one of them was that Zavala and Hawthorne are having a meal together, basically their last meal before they get destroyed by Callus and his fleet or whatever. And in that tab, it's described that they're playing checkers and that Zavala drinks root beer and has chicken nuggets. Which I remember at the time because I actually made that meal for myself at one point, and told Juliet that, you know, I have even more in common now with Zavala. And her eyes rolled. yeah, I mean, we're big Hawthorne stands in the community. Great character. Want to see more of her. You know, why not? Did you listen to music of bagpipes and synthesizers? I'm sure we have at some point, but maybe not at that exact moment. All right, number 81, Song of Life. It'll be a thing we could use as a weapon. 81, Song of Light. Use as a weapon. Oh, light. Light. Yeah, my bad. Life. Song of Life. Used as a weapon. Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, there are Hive, specifically in the Crota's raid, Crota's End raid, and a few other places in Destiny who can apparently sing the Song of Death, the Death Singers. And they can literally chant you to death. And apparently they learned that by hearing the Song of Life, whatever or wherever that is, and converting it into this. I presume that the song, I don't remember if it's detailed, but I presume the Song of Life is a traveler thing that the Hive heard. Yeah. I don't know, it'd be pretty neat. Some kind of, Destiny has a strong connection to music across like lore, story, environmental storytelling, and I really, the Savathun's like song didn't go into some big dramatic conclusion, but I really liked how it was included in all the little Easter eggs and stuff like that. So, yeah, if we had something like this, that'd be pretty cool. All right, chat. We are going to keep this going for about 9 more minutes, at least in terms of the ideas that we draw. Hopefully, by the end of those 9 minutes, we have a clear winner. Trying to get better at not streaming so late. I've been pretty bad at that aspect of my life recently. So I figure, we'll finish up drawing the cards, and then we can chat for a few more minutes after that, and it'll still not be too late. Number 59, Ido reminds Aramis of her children. All right. I don't recall, like, during, we got that lore in Season of Plunder, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm slightly confused. Wasn't there a thing where Mithrax, like, saw that, Aramis came on his ship with 2, like, children, and then you find out later that they're not her children? But we know she does have them because Beyond Light lore talks about her partner and her having children. Yeah. Two she brought with Spider and his brother. They were orphans. Right. Okay. Yeah, I had that confused. Yeah. She owes a lot of child support. That's why she's so angry, That's why she was trying to hunt for buried treasure and stuff in Season of Plunder. Trying to get as much glimmer as she could. Aramis is, I'm I'm glad that Aramis is in the game more. I feel like her introduction into the game was very like it was very strong, but it was very shallow at the same time, right? Like I'm still frustrated that we learned about Aramis's backstory after we dealt with her. You know, it's a little frustrating when that happens. Okay, we got that one earlier, so let's keep going. Number 68, Neomuna is a complete fabrication from the witness. This also sounds like another Juliet number. Also, we went from... Oh no, different number. Okay. Neomuna is a witness made fabrication. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Does anybody have this one? Because I want to know if the little eyeball emoji was like printed out on the card. Yeah, I mean, we haven't been there yet. The only, man, you know how mad the community would be? It's there? That's funny. You know how mad the community would be if that were a thing? Like, it would be brilliant, but also possibly terrible and dangerous. Like, imagine, like, the only evidence that we have that Neomuna exists, you know, Osiris's kind of dream, the Nephele stronghold stuff, which I guess at the end Rasputin confirmed was on Neptune. And then there was like the ghost shell and Sparrow that like kind of talked about there being something out there, right? Well, it's just that like the thing is that like movie trailers, for example, are I used to get, it's weird, a movie trailer that's too like that shows you too much about the movie is not good because then you don't enjoy the movie. But sometimes a movie trailer is made and it doesn't have any footage or similarity to the movie itself. It's like a comic book cover. When I was a kid, I was confused because you'd have a comic book cover that implied a story, and then you'd read the comic, and that story wasn't there. Right? So I got confused as a kid. So you know, you could see like Bungie being like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna go to Neomuna," and then nope, it turns out it was a lie. You know, a lie perpetuated by Savathun coming into the real world, right? Yeah, I mean, just draw all of the Guardians to this new cool place and then surround them, lock them in, kill them all, you know, or draw them away from Earth so that the Cabal can invade. It's going to be very interesting, actually, because Neomuna, like Lightfall is taking place in Neomuna, but Season of Defiance is taking place, I guess, mostly on Earth. So, it's a little funny to imagine our forces being split so much, right? Yeah, I mean, why not, right? Lying is certainly, you know, lying is certainly within the witness's wheelhouse for sure. Okay, we got that one before. Lure them with hope and spider powers. Yeah. Yeah. Zavala once said that Guardians go where the weapons are. So, you know. Number 20, Malok successfully takes. See what I did there? The Taken Throne. So in Destiny 1, there was a character, Malok. I forget exactly. He was like a general, right? And he had a cool pulse rifle. But you had to do, I think you had to do the Will of Crota strike. Like the one with, Omnigul. You had to do that one on a Nightfall or whatever to get that weapon. And sometimes, like, that strike on Nightfall difficulty was brutal. Oryx's nephew. Oryx's nephew? Then whose son is he? Now I need to know. Malok, pride of Oryx, son of Savathun, rises to power. Okay. Yeah, cool. He grasps that throne. Yeah. I mean, if that pulse rifle comes back in the game, I'd be down with it. It is really interesting how, like, for a while we all thought that Savathun was going to take over. And we even had the Festering Core, like, strike on Io, where it appeared as if Savathun was, like, messing around with stuff to like, learn more about the Taken. And then Savathun comes back and she's like, I don't want his throne. It's not my style. It's an interesting choice. I agree it's not her style, but yeah, it kind of, like, a little bit of setup that goes nowhere, and also, like, where, like, what is left of the state of the Taken, right? She's going to take over, but we stopped her. Yeah, maybe she just says in Witch Queen that she never wanted it as a kind of sour grapes, like, you know, like, she got beat, but she didn't want to admit defeat, so she's like, no, I never wanted it. She wasn't the Taken Queen, though. That's the thing, right? Not specifically. It's never confirmed that she got it. Okay, chat. Do we have a clear winner? Whoever has the most, let me know. What do you got? How many you got? I think we had some people say they had 6. A bunch of people said they had 6 earlier. Is anybody? Little She Bear has 9. Can anybody beat? Ooh, L's got 8. 8. Almost line. 8. A lot of 8s. 9 from Juliet. And Little She Bear and Juliet are at 9. I mean, one of you is easy enough to buy for. You're pretty local. Floor for Dork. Ah, a bad card. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it there. And Little She Bear and Juliet will make you the winners of our lore bingo. Yay! Yay! Little She Bear, if you can do me a favor and send me a screenshot or just something in a DM. It's not that I don't trust you, but if any of these ravenous wolves want proof, then it would be good for me to have it. I'm sure you'd understand. Plus, I'm curious which ones you had. It'd be kind of fun. You count, Juliet. You're fine. That's why I'm giving it to both of you. If it were any other 2 people, if it was like two other people, I'd probably do some kind of, like, you know, tiebreaker or whatever. But it's easy to break the tie when I live with one of the winners. Going home with a winner tonight, chat. Maybe, if she'll have me. Maybe I'll sleep outside. Yeah. So, awesome. That was great, chat. I really hope you had a good time. I hope you had fun. I thought it was fun. I think that's a pretty cool event. You know, if... yeah, take that, COVID, for sure. Oh, look at that. She Bear's already on it. Nice, 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 nice. Awesome. 9 plus the free space. Sweet. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, the whole, obviously the whole thing was just for fun, and it was good to get you guys in here, get some more eyes on the prize, just to remind everybody about the charity event. And yeah, the origin of the idea was that we were chatting about lore, and I told someone, I said, the thing is you can connect any dot you want in Destiny, right? Like, the world of Destiny is so vast, and there's so many cool things. Plus, there's so many like technologies and magics and all this stuff that you could really make any two things go together, which is an opportunity, but it's also frustrating, right? It's like a book that could have like 100 endings. It gets a little a little much. But yeah, I had a good time. So as a reminder, chat, our next big event will be the PvP tournament. If you are interested at all, don't worry if you're not good. If you want to play and have a fun time, check out the charity channel in the Discord. There's a sign-up sheet. You can just add your name to the list, and we'll try to find a team for you. Or if you have a team, bring them in. Next Sunday at our usual time here, my friends Mike and Alex will be on the stream. They'll be shoutcasting, lots of energy, and we're going to play some PvP, and it's going to be good. We're going to conclude the charity event on that day, on Sunday the 26th. We'll do the PvP stuff, then we'll do the draw for all of the art print winners, and any other like giveaways or anything like that will happen at that time. Monday, the day before Lightfall, I will unbox my Lightfall Collector's Edition. So you'll get to see all the goodies that are in there, and we'll read through the lore. Hopefully, I'll have enough time to read through all of it in one sitting. I think we will. And so Sunday is the PvP tournament. Monday is the Lightfall Collector's Edition unboxing. And during Lightfall, actually, like, I'm not actually going to be online on the Tuesday of Lightfall. I'm presuming that things will be buggy and slow, and I don't want to put myself through that torture. So I'm going to just skip Tuesday. And then I'll probably end up playing offline on the Wednesday, and I'll see you guys Wednesday evening. I like to try and do a little bit of this stuff offline and have my own thoughts on it before going kind of live in public. So here's the thing, everybody. As we wrap up the stream right now, I know pretty much every one of you here has donated to the charity event. And I also know that you all have shared links and done your part, and I really appreciate that. But we're short on our goal, and I'm really hoping we can get closer to it. I don't know, maybe it's the whole tax season, maybe it's because Lightfall is expensive and people are putting their money into that, but yeah, if you're able to connect with any other larger community, right? If you're part of like the art community, or you're part of another stream or another Discord, and you think you can maybe get them to come here and hang out with us, donate. I mean, there's prizes everywhere. That's the whole point. So yeah, I'm really hoping we can get closer to our goal. And as a reminder, the whole charity event ends next Sunday. So we've got a week. We've got a week to make $1,000. Don't feel guilty about that. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, I wish I could donate more. No, you've all done a lot. And hopefully we can just, get some other people in here to help carry the baton to the final part of the course. Let's do a quick check and see if anybody we know is currently online and streaming. It's always nice to pay it forward like that to go and hang out with somebody else. I will possibly be back tomorrow. I don't really have. Mylan Games is streaming. Cool. Let's go hang out with Mylan. Yeah, let's go hang out with Mylan. And feel free to tell him what we were up to. You know, tell him we were doing some. Maybe he would like that idea. He could do a lore bingo in his stream or whatever. I don't care. Big streamers are gonna have bigger audiences, whether they take my ideas or not. It's all good. So yeah, I might be back tomorrow, but if not, for the rest of this week, I'm gonna be probably trying to get. I'm trying to get my Crucible title. Trying to rank up one more rank. I'm just on the verge of ranking up. So I'm going to probably be doing that, practicing for the Crucible event on the weekend, and just hanging out. I'm not pressuring myself. I'm not preparing in any way for Lightfall. Maybe I'll spend a little bit of time and clear my vault, but that's pretty much it. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Really, thank you for every aspect of your participation in the event, whether it's giving ideas or chatting in the stream or just playing along with bingo cards and stuff. Yeah, had a really good time. So let's go say hi to Mylan, and I hope you enjoy his stream. He's a fun guy. He's very active, very into the lore and things like that. He's got a lot of energy, that's for sure. So we'll go and say hi to him. And as always, everybody, I hope that you have a great day and night. Be safe, be kind, and we'll see you all next time. Bye now.